Howdy, welcome back to What Will Enjoy Sports. If you're new around here, hope I can get you to consider to like the content and subscribe to the channel. But if you're a regular around these here parts, thank you very much for the continuous support. I guess it's better late than never. Let me tell you about this week. So I've been on night shifts at my work and it's gone from Monday through to Thursday, and then I slept most of the day on Friday, went to the cinemas on Friday night and saw Good Boy, that dog horror movie. Yeah, that was interesting last night. And now it's 10:30 in the morning on the Saturday, and this is the first opportunity I've had all week to talk about the biggest game of the year. It's been encapsulating me and like it has everybody else, but I'm here now, and let's talk about the three games that are happening this Sunday. The state championship features the Warriors versus the Burleigh Bears. Now, I don't think there are any odds for this one, but I can tell you that the Warriors will be coming into the game as the favourites, 100%. New South Wales, for the better part of 10 years now, it's been longer, the state championship, than that, but for the better part of its history, really, the New South Wales team has dominated this matchup. North's Devils last year were the first team to win it in a long time for the state of Queensland. So the Burleigh Bears are up against that, but the Warriors' attack has been wild in 2025. You'd probably say that the Bears' defense has been better in some aspects, but I mean the first grade quality. Let's go through the teams here. So you got Tane Tuapiki at fullback, Ali Liatawa, Graham Taufa, Edward Kossi, Tanner Boyd at halfback, who was also the player of the match last weekend for the Warriors in the New South Wales Cup Grand Final, Bunty Afoa, Sam Healy, Tanner Stowers-Smith, Iramia Tuava, and then the captain Kalani Going, and then the interchange Jet Cleary and Tom Arley, Freddie Lussick. That's half a first grade squad. And then going into the Burleigh Bears now. So the captain, Sammy Sowaluma, and you've got Guy Hamilton, Josh Rogers as a halves combination. The fullback is Nicholas O'Meany. Fletcher Baker is a name that you all know of. He plays for the Broncos. Obviously, Burleigh are affiliated with the Brisbane Broncos. Paul Roach is a dummy half. Ewan Moore, Christensen, Costa in the back row. And in regards to first grade experience, that's just about it. But I mean, don't want to disrespect the Burleigh Bears because they did knock off the North's Devils last weekend in the Queensland Cup Grand Final despite a late charge by the North's Devils. Now, this game does kick off at 12:20 because it's daylight savings. I'm pretty sure that game kicks off at 12:20 tomorrow afternoon. So 12:20 here in Queensland, or 1:20 in New South Wales, or will be 11:20 here in Queensland and 12:20 in New South Wales. But in any event, Warriors versus Bears, get used to that, I guess, over the next few years, since the Perth Bears team is coming in a couple of years' time. So Warriors versus Bears this Sunday, and I've got to give, unfortunately, the tip of the cap to the New South Wales team, the New Zealand Warriors. The second game on Grand Final day is the top of the table clash. It is the battle of the super teams in the NRLW, the Roosters versus the Broncos. And coming into this game, it's actually the Broncos who are the favourites at $1.61, and I think the Roosters have floated out actually a little bit more. They are $2.33. That is extraordinary value on the Sydney Roosters, who are undefeated and obviously defeated Brisbane Broncos in the home and away regular season last weekend. I thought that both of the matches would wind up going opposite ways. So I thought the Broncos Knights would be the closer of the two. Well, it was actually the Roosters Sharks that was the much closer of the two preliminary finals last weekend. Roosters just scraping by the Sharkies by 1 point, and then the Broncos just did it pretty much in cruise control against Newcastle at Suncorp, and I was there in person, and I don't think they'd be happy with their second half, the Brisbane Broncos. There's a lot there to be left desired, but then again, when you know that you've got the game wrapped up pretty much at halftime, you don't want to go too overboard and risk injury or suspension or what have you. So maybe the Broncos just did decidedly play within themselves. But in any event, Broncos did it in cruise control. So let's go through the team list now for the Sydney Roosters. There are a couple of changes here. So last weekend, it was Aaliyah Nasio that was suspended. She is back in and playing in at the second row. So going back into the back line, Parker, Novidi, Surges, Kelly, Frizard, Baxter, and Kelleher. The forward pack is Poole, Davis, and Butler. I thought one of those two would have won the Dally M the other night. The back row again, the CEO Strange and Olivia Kernick. The interchange is Burton, Carlisle, Wood, and Lopamua. So a smaller bench in comparison to the Brisbane Broncos. Only just. And then 18th lady will be Jade Hurd again for the Brisbane Broncos now. I believe they're pretty much unchanged. Upton, the Dally M winner of the year, is at fullback. Johnson, Maddock on the Stings, Hufanga, Robinson centres, Broughton, Brigginshaw. This is Gail Broughton's last game for the Brisbane Broncos before she moves to the New Zealand Warriors next year. So this will be just that little bit bigger for her. The forward pack, Nuasala, Ferguson, Clark, back row, Dam, Teitzel, Joseph, the interchange, Brill, Lenarduzzi, Suzolka, and Suaso, but she is the Suaso. And the interchange, the reserves is Regan Hicks is 18th lady. And just quietly as well, speaking of reserves, Amber Hall has been named on the reserves. Like, come on now. As if you're not going to play Amber Hall in the grand final this Sunday. Come on now, tomorrow, come on, surely. Someone's unfortunately going to have to get left out, and I'm named at 14. Davis can go the full 70, so maybe it will be Burton that misses out. It'd be pretty wild if Lopamua was to miss out because she's been sensational, but I do think Carlisle and Wood are the two guarantees on the interchange for the Sydney Roosters, however. But seriously, as if you're going to leave Amber Hall out of grand final day. These two sides met in one of the better games of the NRLW this season, and it was the Roosters who won in Brisbane in a high-scoring affair. The Broncos fought back, and I think they even got the lead back, if I'm not mistaken. But then the Roosters' class just shone through. So defensively, there are issues there. Well, not issues. I would say that the better defense would be the Sydney Roosters at the moment. I think the Broncos are more susceptible to leaking points, but they are the best attacking team in the NRLW, the Brisbane Broncos. But it's not necessarily the best defense versus the best attack, but that's how I'm viewing it this Sunday. Roosters defense versus Broncos attack this weekend. Keely Joseph versus Olivia Kernick is a mouth-watering one-on-one matchup. Looking forward to that. And then this forward pack battle is enormous. Poole and Butler versus Nuasala and Clark is fascinating. Jada Ferguson, she not has to step up, but she's got a huge one-on-one battle with Keely Davis. Lady Emma Manselman came in round the outside and won that hooker of the year the other night at the Dally M's, but I thought Davis probably would have got that one. But Keely Davis versus Ferguson is massive. Where the Broncos do have the ace up the sleeve is Tamika Upton at fullback with Bridie Parker at fullback. Easily Broncos win that one-on-one matchup. The centre battles, Kelly and Surges versus Robinson and Hufanga, and I do believe, if I've got it correct, I think that it is Robinson versus Kelly this Sunday. So the best centres on the planet in the NRLW or in the women's game are coming up. They are colliding this Sunday, so that is huge. Surges versus Hufanga as well. The 5/8 battle, Baxter versus Broughton, class. Halfback battle, Kelleher versus Brigginshaw. Brigginshaw, yes, she's retiring next season, but you don't know if you're going to get back to the grand final. So she would be 100% treating this as if this was her last chance to win one. So Brigginshaw is going to go hell for leather. This is the game that we all thought we were going to get before a ball was even kicked off at the start of the season. The big omission here is Taryn Aiken, but I mean the Roosters, I nearly said Sharks, the Roosters, they've done it for half the season without Taryn Aiken and have still gone undefeated. Kerry Johnston is a bit of a stick out there, playing her first ever grand final. I $2.20 plus about the Roosters is so much value, man. I just keep looking at Tamika Upton versus Bridie Parker, and it is no disrespect to Parker, as I said before. She is a great talent herself, but it is the big discrepancy that I can see in the whole 1-17, plus the Rookie of the Year, Sawaso. She is an incredible talent that we've only just scratched the surface on, but I mean, again, I think Amber Hall will come on to try and mitigate the impact of the Sawar show this weekend. But I'm going to tip based on Tamika Upton. That is what I'm tipping this game on. I'm going to say the Brisbane Broncos, unfortunately for Roosters fans, kill off the invincible year for the Roosters of 2025 and win the premiership, win the NRLW premiership this Sunday. But this could be arguably, this genuinely could be the greatest game of NRLW that we've ever seen. But I'm going to go the Brisbane Broncos to win 1-12. And then the main event kicking off at 6:30 p.m. here in Queensland, 7:30 in New South Wales. It is Melbourne versus Brisbane. And can I be someone to say, one of the only ones to say this, as a neutral, as a Cowboys fan, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, but this entire day, just about, is disgusting. This is absolutely disgusting as a neutral. Melbourne versus Brisbane, and then you get the Roosters in the NRLW as well. Oh, it's most foul. This is a crime most foul. I look forward to having my barbecue and my camembert cheese on grand final day, and I've got to use it watching Melbourne versus Brisbane. Oh dear. However, in saying that, it could be one of the greatest grand finals that we've ever seen. I think the quality of this game could go through the Richter scale this Sunday. So Melbourne, they're $1.74. The Broncos, they are $2.10. I wouldn't be surprised if Brisbane do come in just a little bit more. Such is the closeness of this affair, or should be the closeness of this affair. So going through the team list, we've got Pappenhausen versus Reece Walsh. Reece Walsh is the best player in the competition right now, and Pappenhausen has had himself a very strong year. Will Warbrick is going to go one-on-one with Karapani this weekend. Will Warbrick has got the height advantage on Karapani. Karapani, though, has been super impressive. He's come up from South Sydney, if I'm not mistaken, and he is just a runaway boulder. He is so good to watch, man. Jack Howarth versus Kotoni Staggs. Whoa, that could be the most underrated matchup of this grand final. Howarth, his work ethic for a young man is extraordinary. It is absolutely exemplary. And Kotoni Staggs just won one of the best centres of the year, deservedly so, I think. Nick Meaney versus Guillemot Shibasaki. Meaney sort of has experienced what Shibasaki has had. Meaney was someone that was not in and out of first grade, but he was always moving around the back five, and then he's gone to the Melbourne Storm. I don't think he's won one. He's experienced a grand final, and now Shibasaki is someone that's been in and out of first grade, in and out of the country, and now he plays in a grand final in its centre. It's been a remarkable season for Shibasaki. Meaney versus Shibasaki this weekend. The battle of Coates versus Dean Mariner is this weekend. You'd probably say that that Coates has the advantage on Mariner, but Mariner, he's got himself a special slice of Brisbane Broncos history, scoring that match-winning preliminary final try last weekend. I was in attendance for that. I can confirm that Suncorp was rocking and rolling, but Dean Mariner versus Coates, I would give the edge to Coates, but Mariner will definitely hold his own. Kerry Munster versus Ben Hunt. Munster, his 2025 season has been an 8 out of 10 all year long. He hasn't dipped underneath an 8 out of 10 in 2025. And we know his personal story that happened around State of Origin time. So this is one of the great feel-good stories of all time, potentially this Sunday, in the form of Cameron Munster. And I've got to ask the question sooner rather than later, like, he's been said to be the greatest or one of the great State of Origin players in history, Cameron Munster. He's already won premierships. I believe that this is going to be his fifth grand final, possibly sixth. But he's up there for players that has played the most grand finals of all time. When does the I word come in for Cameron Munster? Like, when do we start? Like, if he wins this one, and he's still with the Melbourne Storm for the next 2 to 3 seasons, I think, when do we start talking about Cameron Munster with that I? You know what I'm talking about, that I word. So, yeah, I genuinely would like to hear someone's opinion on it, because I think we all concede, we all agree that he's a legend. But when does that I word come in to the conversation for Cameron Munster, taking on Ben Hunt, who returns to a grand final for the first time since 2015, and he's had himself a very good year, I'd say, Ben Hunt, and he's had to do it without Adam Reynolds. He's played hooker, he's played halfback, and he's playing 5'8", so he's been a nice Swiss Army knife for the Brisbane Broncos this year. The halfback battle, Jerome Hughes versus Adam Reynolds, two players that have carried injuries throughout the second half of 2025. Hughes versus Reynolds, the kicking game is going to be so important in this one, and you've got, you know, 4 of the best kickers in the NRL going around right now. So the kicking duel and the defence to that is going to be fascinating. The forward pack, it's not how exactly they line up, but it's Uto Ikamanu versus Payne Haas this weekend. Just two behemoths colliding, and to Uto Ikamanu's credit, he's gone from the West Tigers to the Melbourne Storm, and he's killed it. Like, legitimately, Stefano Uto Ikamanu, I didn't think he'd get to this level quickly, but he's doing it. So congratulations to him, man. He finds himself there in a grand final as the enforcer. He's been in tremendous form, but he ain't been no Payne Haas, who is a one of one. I'd say in the year 2021, for example, somewhere around there, he would have been winning his 3rd Broncos Best Player of the Year award, and I'd sit there and go, I just don't see it. Why? Why is he getting Forward of the Year for? Why is he getting Broncos Best Player of the Year? And then 2022 onwards, it's just, I've been pulverized into submission. Like, he's amazing. Payne Haas, isn't he? He's absolutely exceptional. The hooker battle, Harry Grant versus Corey Pakes. Now, one would say that this should have been Grant versus Walters. Someone could have said that this could have been Grant versus Hunt in the hooker ranks this Sunday, but it is Grant versus Pakes. Pakes, this is a huge game for him. It's the biggest game of his career, obviously. Harry Grant, he's a player that has yet to win a premiership. He experienced the heartbreak last year, and he's back in a grand final this year. So redemption arc for Harry Grant is it's a thing. It's definitely a thing. King versus Corey Jensen, two underrated workhorses. Corey Jensen used to be a North Queensland Cowboys player. That red carpet is still rolled out for you, by the way, Corey Jensen. And Josh King, just been Mr. Super Reliable for many, many years now for Newcastle and the Melbourne Storm. The back row battle, we've got Sean Bloor taking on Piakura, if I'm not mistaken. Bloor used to be a West Tiger, and he played in a grand final last year. He's looking for his first premiership. But Brendan Piakura, he is the future. And he's just gotten better as the year has gone on. Jordan Ricky, probably, arguably, in the best form of his career. He is, actually, I think it will be actually Ricky going on with Bloor, and it's going to be Eli Katoa versus Piakura. Eli Katoa won one of the best second rows of the year the other night at the Dally M's, and he's going to go one-on-one with Piakura, and it will be Jordan Ricky versus Sean Bloor. But it's a cut of the same cloth in that regard. And then Trent Loiero versus Pat Carrigan. Loiero, I have grown to really respect and admire. He's still underrated in some aspects. Not as much these days, but yeah, he's improving every year, and he is a reliable fella. And then Pat Carrigan, he could be the wild card in this game. He hasn't played since that famous win against Canberra in Canberra, and Pat Carrigan is back with a couple of weeks rest. He ain't coming off. He will play the full 80 minutes. Payne Haas, will he play the full 80 minutes? I'm going to suggest no. I think he'll have maybe 10 minutes break, and I think he'll come off 5 minutes before halftime, come on back onto the paddock 5 minutes into the second half, I think. Yeah, he can, and we will see how the game flows this Sunday. But I think Payne Haas, it would be better to use him if he has a break. So I would suggest resting him just before halftime and then coming on just a few minutes into the second half. But Pat Carrigan versus Loiero is a smash mouth affair. Going into the interchanges now. Wishart, Lasati, Kamikamitha, and Alec McDonald versus Mam, Hetherington, Willison, and Tyson Smoothie in jersey number 17. Grant Anderson is 18th player. Jesse Arthurs is the 18th player for the Brisbane Broncos. Isn't it funny that the first time these two sides met in 2025, it was Indigenous round. Melbourne hosted Brisbane. And 20 minutes into the game, the Brisbane Broncos were up 2-0, and it was a good competitive affair. And then the moment happened in the same 5 seconds, basically. Mem and Reynolds did their hamstring. Later on in the contest, Selwyn Cobbo did his hamstring, and I think a majority of us in the NRL universe sat back and went, is that their season done? What an absolutely critical blow. But in that game, despite the injuries, before the injuries, that entire contest, Melbourne won. But there are a lot of aspects within that game where I'd walk away and say the Brisbane Broncos played the better. And you know what? I thought up till that point, it was the best performance of the Brisbane Broncos season. And isn't it funny that absolute turmoil and chaos breaks out due to those injuries? And yes, they didn't go through the rest of the year undefeated, the Brisbane Broncos, after that game. For example, losing to Parramatta. But since that game against Melbourne in Melbourne, their stocks has risen. Reece Walsh has become that player that we see once every couple of years. For example, the Jared Hayne 09, you look at the Tom Trbojevic of 2021, you know what I mean? There's always a team, there's always a player every single year that has a second half charge to the finals, and it turned out to be the Brisbane Broncos. I was thinking, is it the Canberra Raiders, Ethan Strange this year? No, it's Reece Walsh and the Brisbane Broncos, and it's just amazing that the worst thing that could have happened to them has actually wound up being the best thing that could have happened. They've took on more responsibility. I think the urgency of potentially missing the 8 altogether really hit them in that 1 to 2 week bracket where they lost to the Melbourne Storm and then they lost to the Parramatta Eels thereabouts. It's just amazing how the Brisbane Broncos have gone about things. Defensively, they're right where they were at the moment in form, where they were in 2023. But up against this Melbourne Storm outfit, man, credit to Craig Bellamy. What is it? It's his 11th or 12th grand final in 20 years. Full credit to them. They have been winning with form about 7 out of 10. I reckon they have gone this entire year performing 7 out of 10. I don't think we have seen the best of the Melbourne Storm all year. And I don't care if they beat the Tigers by 64 points to nil or something to that effect. I don't think we've seen them at their best. We've seen patches of it. And whilst discipline-wise, they have been pretty ordinary over the past month or so. When the big games have come, I have found and seen that the Melbourne Storm, when they decide to turn on the defence, it usually turns on when the team are coming out of their attacking zone. So, for example, we had teams coming out of their own end on their own 10, and that's where the Melbourne Storm press play. That's when they go, we go now. And the Melbourne Storm, games against Penrith this year, for example, that stick out, that's when their defence hurries and they box in their opponent. And it's just when it gets to those moments, they've been able to kick long and they've been able to limit the attack of the opposing team. That's what I feel that they have done best. And they're going to have to do that, obviously. But Dean Mariner, Karapani, Katoni Staggs, they're going to have to make some brave carries coming out of their own end this weekend. So too the Storm. But I've just found that in the bigger games, the Melbourne Storm defense, while discipline is still an issue, they've been able to limit teams to about 20 to 30 metres, probably as best as any team in the NRL over the past 2 to 3 months. So that is definitely a positive for the Melbourne Storm going into this game. Michael Maguire, his story as well. I mean, this dude has had the Midas touch for the past 2 years now, hasn't he? It's been extraordinary for Michael Maguire. And look, this is a drive-by on the Tigers again. Sorry, but you do look to the Tigers and go, you had this guy. What were you doing? And Michael Maguire, in his first year, has taken the Broncos to a grand final. I think that this could be one of, if not the best grand final that we've ever seen. The potential that is on show, it seriously could be the highest quality grand final of all time. The referee will have a lot to say in that. Grant Atkins, thank goodness he is the referee. I still think Adam G deserved a better, fairer shout in 2025, but I do think that we have fallen on the correct referee. So Grant Atkins is the referee this weekend, and it is Ashley Klein, that will be in the bunker this weekend. Funny that Chris Butler was named the full-time bunker, and it's Ash Klein that's usurped him to be the bunker official this weekend. I feel like at the moment my heart is telling me the Brisbane Broncos. My mind is telling me the Melbourne Storm. I'm feeling Cameron Munster is just, it's another big game. It's another big day for Cameron Munster. He could come out ripping and roaring. But then Reece Walsh is the most informed player of the competition at the moment. And the other component to this game as well is that this is a grand final that pits the past two losing grand final teams in the grand final this weekend. So I'm not joyous about this at all, but we're going to see some serious pain. Like, losing a grand final is painful, right? But one of these two teams have experienced heartbreak in the grand final over the past 2 to 3 years. Both of these teams have. So for the Melbourne Storm to potentially lose back-to-back grand finals, or for the Broncos to lose 2 of the past 3 grand finals, oh man, the loser of this is going to be hurting more than we may have ever seen a team hurt after a grand final. Like, it is going to be seriously painful for one of these two clubs this weekend. Like, I can't see Melbourne walking around back-to-back losers in a grand final. I can't see it. I can see Payne Haas winning. I think it's his time. I think this Sunday is his game. If the Broncos are to do it, it's obviously going to have to do a hell of a lot with Payne Haas. And I just feel like that there's just an air of inevitability, or maybe it is destiny for the Brisbane Broncos. I just feel like that the time is now for the Broncos. The Storm, they have had plenty of times in the spotlight. They have won a premiership this decade. And even though it's still really hard to see Melbourne Storm in a back-to-back losing scenario in a grand final, I can't get over the image or the possibility that Payne Haas is going to take this game by the scruff of the neck and say, it's this year, it's now, for me and my boys, for the city of Brisbane. And therefore, I am going to tip the Brisbane Broncos in this game in what I think has the potential to be one of the greatest grand finals that we have ever seen. And this will, if my tips are correct, in tipping both Broncos teams, this is about to be the greatest party in Brisbane's history. Like, legitimately, this could be the greatest day in Brisbane Broncos history, or at least since, the early 1990s. This is enormous. It's absolutely huge. So, ladies and gents, thank you very much for your continuous support. If not just for this past week, but for the entire year. Thank you so much. This is obviously the last NRL video that I'm making for 2025, and then you've got the internationals that are coming up. But thank you so much for the continuous support. And like I do in every other grand final video, I do want to say thank you to the players, whether it be NRLW, NRL, reserve grade, it doesn't matter, to all the players. Thank you for what you do. And we back you 100%. We might yell at you every other week, and we might put you in the oven every single week, but we all do really appreciate what you do. We are all in awe of you. Continue what you're doing, and we hope you enjoy a really nice off season, and we look forward. Already counting down the days until the 2026 NRL draw. But yeah, already counting down the days to 2026. And yeah, I'm not doing this if it's not for the hard work of the players, the referees, the coaches, everybody. So thank you, Rugby League, basically. But no, thank you very much to all the players and the coaches out there that have to sometimes put up with us fans' bullshit. But no, they know that it's coming from a place of love, 100%. So from me to all of you, thank you again. And I'll see you guys in the next episode, which is going to be for some Pacific Championship International Rugby League. Bring it on. Have a good Sunday. Enjoy the grand final. I'm going to Brisbane Bronco double banger this Sunday in the NRLW and the NRL. Tipping the Warriors in the state championship, but I'm going the Broncos in the big one to get the victory over the Melbourne Storm. A scoreline, maybe a 22 points to 16 sort of a scoreline for the Brisbane Broncos this Sunday. Enjoy the grand final. Take care. Adios.